Hey guys, Infidel1258 here. Today I want to talk to you about bargain hunting. It's end of season. There's a million cards being issued to every player of this game for the time and attention they've invested over the last few days and weeks. And as a result, there's a ton of sellers. There's a ton of people who are just liquidating those cards for the purpose of now maybe renting new cards for this season, or even just to liquidate to provide revenue for what might be a bot farm. Regardless of why they're being sold, they are being sold and prices are declining, and they always do at the beginning of a season. So one, if you want deals, now's your time. Two, there is crazy actual disconnects happening where you can buy cards and burn them for better prices. But you need to know how to use peak monsters and the bid buy functions available to you. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about bargain hunting. Let's talk about where card prices are at. And like I say, burn values are exceeding purchase price. So let's get into that. Before we do, my name is Dwayne Cunningham and I go by Infidel1258. You can just call me 12. Guys, leave comments in the videos. And when you leave comments that provoke a response video, I want to say thank you. I'm going to start. I saw something Gank and Keys were doing, and they were like, they're awarding kind of points, and if you say something that's really, you support them in some way, they want to give you like essentially a ticket, and they're tracking how many tickets are being handed out, and they're going to hand out a cool reward. I want to start that too. So moving forward, if you drop a comment that facilitates a new video, meaning a great question, and you leave that IGN, I'm going to include your name and IGN on a list. When I get to, I don't know, I think maybe 100. When I get to 100, I think we're going to give away something serious. I think maybe we might be talking about a plot of land here. So again, drop your comments below on any video. And again, if they lead to videos, I will track that. And I'll give updates when I add your name to the list. So here's the thing, guys. Whether you're using Splinterlands market, which you should never be using the Splinterlands market, there's no rewards, there's no benefits. The market is less efficient and effective. But a lot of you do. I happen to know that a number of people, like, I don't know if it's 10%, 20% of the cards that are bought and sold happen here. And that is crazy to me, but people do it. So for the purpose of articulating my point, I want to show you this market and peak monsters. Here's the thing. Look at this. Bloodmaker. It's a common card, 400 BCX, being sold for $1.83. The power of that card is 2100 CP, or rather the power, it is 2100 collection power. It's also 2100 burn for DEC. So if I was to buy this for $1.83, I could burn it for 2100 DEC. And right now DEC is below peg, so that wouldn't actually financially make sense. But I believe it'll return to peg. So I actually believe this card is below its cost. Like, it's literally free because you could buy it and burn it and get 2100 DEC, which I think will return to peg. So you might say, well, I'm not going to buy it, burn it, and then wait for it to return to peg. Fine. But if you like cards like this, you buy it for the dirt cheap price of below burn value, and then maybe you rent it, maybe you use it until such time that DEC returns to peg. And then, heck, if you want, you burn it then, because you know you bought it for $1.83 and you could sell it for what would amount to $2.10. That's the value proposition of the early season at the brand new season time, when all of those end of season rewards are flooding onto the market. And we know there's a ton of bots that are out there. Those bot farms are absolutely liquidating into this. And you can just look at some of the replay. Like, I mean, some of the names just happen far too often, right? And so that implies bot farms, and that implies, you know, a sustainable process of this, where every single season you can expect to see these sort of reductions in prices, especially on more common cards. I mean, more modern cards that are currently in issuance. And if you go specifically to rewards, that's one way to narrow it down. Now, I want to show you quickly on Splinterlands how you would identify these really inexpensive cards. You're going to go in here, first of all, market, then rewards. You don't have to go to rewards, but primarily speaking, the best and cheapest cards are going to be there. So then you go all levels, max level, and then you're going to go ahead and it's going to produce all the cards at organized from cheapest to most expensive at the bottom of the screen that are max level. And I know right away $1.83 is below burn value. A $1.90 is below burn value. A $1.92, a $1.92. These are all below, and these are rares. So rares have a higher CP and higher burn rate. So the Wavesmith at $1.92, I think has a burn value of $2.40 or 2400 DC. Yep. See, a collection power of 2415, meaning a burn value of 2415. So again, such a cheap card, such a reasonable price. It's an amazing day and time to go in and start adding to your deck. From a collection power standpoint, from a bargain standpoint, from a long-term standpoint, even from that DEC burn rate standpoint, it's like you're buying them for free. And yeah, if DEC doesn't return to peg, you aren't gonna have that out, but I think it will. Do you? If you think it's going to return to peg because of all they're doing, then this feels like a layup. And so that's how you look at this from Splinterlands. But on the Peak Monster standpoint, this is the better market for so many different reasons. So with Peak Monsters, you've got access to different tools with different technology and different ways of looking at the same information. And I would argue it's superior. Not just that from a technical standpoint, but also from the reward standpoint, providing PKM tokens when you buy assets. If you buy $10 worth of cards in this from Peak Monsters in any one purchase, you're going to get one PKM. And PKM is, a very inexpensive token. Current price is around, 0.7 of a penny. So it's not particularly expensive, but at the same time, it's a free asset. And I really think there's an opportunity for long-term appreciation of this token. I've said it before, I'll say it quickly again. If we have 1,000 users using the premium service with Peak Monsters, this becomes deflationary. And that's where you start to see price appreciation. And so I think accumulating that just incidentally through your purchases using Peak Monsters is in your best interest. And lastly, it would unlock the auto rentals, which are so powerful with this and so inexpensive and such a massive reward. So Peak Monsters is better, use it. But I mean, right now, how you can use it from the standpoint of finding those cards that are really inexpensive because of the way that the buy market works here. You have your compare windows and you can look at, a ton of different ways of analyzing the market. Best CP to cost ratio is one way to really start targeting in on those. Exploding Rats, Twilight Basilisk. These are those cards that are going to be the cheapest per CP. And that's where you start getting into that below burn value. And so this is one of the windows that you can then, look, Exploding Rats, Twilight Basilisk, Blossom, Devil, and then it's dropping off. But even the Bonesmith and the Wavesmith and the Volguine and the Seedsmith, where really it's becoming, it's probably all the way down here. Even these gold foils, wow, that's interesting. The gold foil returns are very, very substantial from a CP standpoint, per dollar standpoint. So anyways, use these tools to then recognize, Exploding Rats is one of the cheaper cards. It's a rare. It's providing me a good amount of CP for the cost. And so again, that's going to point me to the fact that it probably, or it might be cheaper than a burn value. So then we can go ahead and we can go in. I like 2 windows and I get a second window and I'm going to go over, and there we are. Exploding Rats is the cheapest rare card. And look, we've got 25 BCX. It's at 1.7 cents per BCX, 41 cents per the card. Now, the CP of that is 500 CP. Therefore, the burn value is 500, and you're paying 40 cents in terms of, you're actually paying 566 DEC for that card, and you could theoretically burn it for 500 DC. So that you're not. This is an example of it not being financially viable in this moment, but just recognizing that if you were bringing in fresh fiat currency, the value of 41 cents is you're getting DEC right now below peg, and you can use that power too to unlock some of these really inexpensive cards if you're interested in bringing in fresh money. And then there's one last thing I want to talk about on this deal front. And one of the ways that you can explore and I guess even exploit this sort of thing is really by using the bid functions. And that's another tool that separates Peak Monsters from Splinterlands marketplace. And the bid function is obvious. You guys, you know about it probably, but I don't know if you know the power of it, because cards can be so much cheaper when you're looking at bid functions. And it's not so much these ones. Like these, there's so many copies being sold for this Venari Seedsmith. The high bid ends up being essentially the market floor. And so, you know, there's not a huge margin of differential there, but there are cards, particularly maybe some cards that are not currently in circulation, where you start to see significant price differentiation. Bone Golem, high bid $1, low buy $1.60. Goblin Chariot, 70 cents high bid, double that for a low buy. And you might think, well, that this high bid's not going to fill. But the point is, you actually don't know that. And all the time, high bids, when I place bids, my bids complete, and I'm saving 10, 20, 50% value on those cards. And if that happens, not only do you have immediate financial benefit, because you buy a card for 70 cents and it's low buy selling for $1.20, 28, you could relist it if you want. And your margin is immediate. You've got a flippable card that's going to double your money. And all you had to do was hold the DEC with which to place the bid. That's the key. The power of DEC is not just in the fact that I believe it's actually going to appreciate in the future. The power of DEC is actually in playing the market using the bid opportunity. There's so much opportunity here. And let's go over to my profile quickly. If you just look at some of my history, go into the bids, and we can see that some of these, you know, you place bid buys, and these bid buys every bid I make is lower than the market price, lower. And so when you see I bought 11 BCX Runemancer Flores for $11.50 each, and that was completed. I bought 4 Agor Longtails for $20.70 each USD, and it's got the DEC prices there too. 15,591 for the Runemancer, and 28,000 for the Agor Longtail. You can see that at those moments 23 days ago when I bought those, they would have been below the market value. Now, how much below? I don't know. Was it $1 cheaper? Was it 10% cheaper? I'll tell you, every single time it's cheaper. And so the point is, if you're already sitting on DEC, and in my opinion you should be, if you like the game and you think it has a future, DEC is one of the most secure layup investments, right? Because I believe, and again, the question is, do you, that DEC is going to return to its peg value? If it does, then these cards, these cards that are being sold below their burn value, are definitely an amazing pickup now. From a long-term perspective, getting that you're actually going to gain in DEC in monetary value by acquiring them at $1.80, like that Seedsmith it was a Bloodmaker we looked at first and foremost, and looking at how the Bloodmaker was I think selling for $1.80 at the time when we looked at it at the beginning of the video, and then you know, you were going to get $2 and you're going to get 2,100 DEC. Now, today you'd have to spend more than 2,100 DEC to essentially account for that $1.80. That's the problem. But again, if you're bringing in fresh money, or if you have a long-term vision for these cards, and lastly, if you believe DEC is going to return to peg, these are just great reasons why these cards are super undervalued. And then again, bringing in, if you really believe DEC is going to reappreciate, then acquire some, hold some, and use it now in the current days, that while it's below peg, to exploit the low card prices, especially at the end of seasons, and put in your bids so that you're getting those discounts on your cards, because there absolutely are significant discounts on cards when you go ahead and you place your bid and just patiently wait. That's it, guys. I think there's a ton of value in playing it this way, and I think if you're wise about these things, you're going to realize significant benefits. And look at this. Runemancer Flore is currently high bidding for $11.01, and is low buy price at $13.79. This is the sort of differential that I assume existed when I bought those the other day, 23 days ago. And that's 20% or something. And then what was the other card? Agro Longtail. We bought it for about $20, and it's selling for about 22. I don't know where it was at the time, but this is so normal. 10, 20%, even 50% differentials, especially on some of the older cards. If you look at some of the betas, for instance, look at this Lord of Darkness, high bid 24, low buy 52. This is the thing, guys. If you think the game's fun and it has a future, if you believe DEC is going to return to peg, recognize the value in some of these new cards that are being issued into the existence, and recognize that they're being sold below burn value. And then also recognize that if you're accumulating DEC anyways, you can use the bid buy functions within the Peak Monsters ecosystem to really instantly double your money. If you were to buy a Lord of Darkness for 24 bucks, you could immediately sell it for 50. And not immediately, but you list for 50. And I think there's a strong possibility you're going to double your money within a week. Peak Monsters is the place for this. Get involved, get that Peak Monster premium so that you can start instantly increasing how much rental revenue you're generating off of your assets. And guys, thank you so much for your time and attention. Have an amazing day. God bless.